All right. So Brian Carruthers has a lot of claims to fame. And so, he's been in network marketing over 20 years. He's earned over $25 million. And amazingly, he's made really good use of his money. His net worth is over $35 million. So he knows how to build networks. He knows how to build teams. He knows how to train. He knows how to recruit. And what he'll tell you and what he trained on today is that he averaged 10 new team members a month that he personally recruited every month for 10 straight years. So picture 120 a year for 10 straight years. That's 1,200 people. And he didn't stop there. He kept going. I don't know if he's at 1,800, 1,900, but he certainly didn't need to stay at the same pace. I don't know if he's maxed out his compensation plan, but he does really well being one of those multi-million-dollar a year earners. So his company is Legal Shield. So basically what they do is they sell you a membership to have access to attorneys 24/7, 365. And their plans start at $24.95 a month and they go up from there. And so I find that pretty fascinating. I actually had to hire attorneys one time for a land lawsuit. And it was horrible. It literally cost me $500,000 and I didn't win. And that's really what can happen in the legal system. My attorneys told me this is a slam dunk, you'll win, but it didn't work out that way. And so sometimes you never know what's going to happen. So could there be, a good insurance policy, $25 a month for an attorney? Sure. If you have an attorney, are you more likely to use one? Maybe. I don't know that we want to get into fights. Maybe we want to avoid fights, but I can see where there would be value. I'm not sure that would be recession-proof, pandemic-proof. If people are, running out of money, are they going to keep their attorney or compare it to coffee, right? Are they going to stop drinking coffee? And so one thing that Brian trained about is the value of money. And he says, why would I spend an extra $500 to sit in first class to have extra leg room for 3 hours when I can invest that? And, at the rate he invests at 10% a year, every 7 years, it doubles. So in 7 years, he's got 1,000, 14 years, 2,000, 21 years, 4,000, 28 years, 8,000, 35 years, 16,000 from that $500. So, he understands money and he's very wise about it. And there's definitely something to be said for that. So Brian is definitely not a rags to riches individual. He was doing very, very well financially, but he had no time. As he said, he was working 100 hours a week. He'd never shut his phone off. He'd be at dinner, the phone would go off and he'd answer it because he knew that his deal might depend on it. And then notice Carruthers Realtors. And so his family actually owned the brokerage. And so it's fascinating. When Brian was introduced to network marketing, they said, oh, okay. So, what he said to them, so you want to make money off of my efforts? And basically what the guy says, well, yeah, kind of like your dad makes money off of all of his agents' efforts. And Brian sat there for a moment. He thought, holy cow, that's how business works. And then what the guy told him, he says, but instead of, you not being able to advance, you can build a team far bigger than my team, and you can make way more money than me. And then Brian looked at that and he said, holy cow, he's right. And he left a very lucrative career in real estate and he started building network marketing and he never looked back. So there's a video on YouTube called Brilliant Compensation by Tim Sales. It uses real estate as the analogy. And it really talks about how brilliant the network marketing model is. And so, he started when he was single. And here's what he said. His goal was to create a great life. He wanted to have a beautiful wife. He wanted to have great kids. He wanted to have time to spend with them. And by building a network marketing empire, he has that. He doesn't need to work again. Picture having a net worth of $35 million. His investments, he was talking about at, one of our mastermind trainings that in a single day, his stocks earned $480,000. Now, that's a pretty good day of return on investment on investments, but you got to have money to get there. And this is how he built his money. He built his team, he collected the money, and then he did very, very, very smart things with it. Building the Empire is one of the absolute best books that I've ever read on network marketing. You'll find stuff in that book that you won't find anywhere else. So for instance, if Brian was prospecting someone and they said, look, I hate network marketing. He goes, yeah, well, this business is perfect for people who hate network marketing, because you don't have to love it. You know people that need what we have. You know people that would want me to be their mentor. You know people that need another way. And you know what? If you introduce me to them, I'll sign them up and you make the money. And so it didn't matter if you hated network marketing. I don't have any time. When Brian would say, this business is perfect for people that don't have any time. You don't have any time, but you know people who do, and you know people who want to invest that time in their future. And you know people who want to partner with me, and I'll mentor them. And together, we'll build a great future. And by the way, you'll start making enough money where you can buy back some of your time. And people would say, I hate sales. And Brian would say, this business is perfect for people that hate sales. Most people hate sales. In fact, I don't want you to sell anything. Just introduce me to a few of your friends and I'll teach them what I know. And together we'll build an empire and you'll make all the money. And it didn't matter whatever the objection was. Brian said, hey, this business is perfect for those things. And you know what? He lives that. He's really, really good. And so this is a quote from actually Charles Tremendous Jones is where I heard it first. That's who Brian gave it to. When I look for the internet picture, it gives it to Jack Canfield. So Canfield tweaked it a little bit, but there are essentially two things that will make you wise: books you read and people you meet. Brian said your life will be the same over the next 5 years, except for the books you read and the people that you meet. And he's very, very right. So if you put good wisdom in and you meet the right people, think about that. How would your life change if you met a diamond over the next 5 years? Well, I promise you in a very good way, as long as you stay plugged in. So these are Brian's 4 books. I've read all of them. And so I say I read all of them, but not true. 2 of them I listened on Audible. But I read Making My First 10 Million. It's a little pamphlet. It's a very good story of why network marketing works really, really well. I read Building the Empire. Awesome, awesome, awesome book. Money Mindset, super smart. And Untrapped is basically, how you can become an entrepreneur. And the probability of starting a business and succeeding is very, very poor. But if you partner with a successful network marketing company, well, it's just a matter of time. The business is very forgiving. You can take a month off, a year off, and come back and do well, because this business, you build it once and you can get paid for a very, very long time. And I'm going to encourage everybody to buy these books, and instead of buy them, read them. Set yourself a deadline. Within a month, you will have read all 4. Is that asking a lot? Yeah. Do I think it's worth a lot? Absolutely. So Brian created this giveaway, or this essentially is a giveaway. He makes no money on it. It's his cost. Get all 4 books for $20 total. And then you go to www.briancarruthers.com/store, use the code 4bundle, and $20, you can order it. Absolutely, 100% strongly and happily recommend that. So Brian actually talked a little bit about how he recruits, and then a little bit more on money management. And I wonder if that's because, a lot of people have already talked about recruiting. But here's what Brian would do. And so first, he was very, very good at piquing interest. And he asked someone, a question, something to the effect that, would you be open to a side job or a side business, if the money were really fantastic? Could you spare 10 hours a week if the money was really fantastic? And that's how he piques their interest. Now, it works, and it works for him. He used to ask people, do you keep your income options open? Then he realized that was a little corny, but are you open to a side business if the money was really spectacular? Could you set aside 10 hours a week? And then people start focusing on the money. And what he says is people join a business quite simply to make money. And then you're going to edify some tool. You don't want to be the tool. You want to edify the tool. Listen, I've got this Facebook group, or I've got this video, Thriving in the New Economy. It's 20 minutes long. One of our top leaders and earners creates that. If I send you a link to the video, would you watch it? Kind of like Eric Worre. This is an awesome video. You'll learn a lot. whether you decide to go into business with us or not, you'll get some things that'll be of value to you. You know, if I sent you the link, would you watch it? Cool. When would you watch it by? Well, I'd watch it by 8 o'clock tonight. Fantastic. So I would love for you to call me at 8:20 this evening. In fact, I'll set a timer in my phone. So what Brian said is he set an expectation that they are going to watch the video. And then, by the way, what happens, he says 8 out of 10 times, they don't call him at 8:20. So he gives them 10 minutes, gives them a 10-minute buffer. And at 8:30, he calls them and he says, hey, you know, Bob, this is Brian. What did you like most about the video that I sent you? You know, and Brian and Bob might say, well, Brian, I actually didn't watch it. Hey, I get that. Things happen. You know, when could you watch it? You know, what's a good time? When for sure, as Eric Worre would say, when for sure would you be able to watch it? I could watch it by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Awesome. So you want to call me at 10? I'll put it in my calendar. Same kind of thing, right? Set the expectation. And then same question. Hey, you know, it's Brian. What did you like most about what you saw? He had another real good way of it setting the expectation. After he'd do a 3-way call with people, he'd ask them, you know, have you already filled out your distributor application, or is that what we're doing right now? He just assumed the sale. And you know, that's a little bit salesy, but you know what? Success leaves clues. It works for Brian. So that's step 3, set the expectation. Number 4 is follow up. He says, remember, the fortune is in the follow-up. The fortune is in the follow-up. The fortune is in the follow-up. And remember, you've got to follow up, and you got to follow up a lot and keep people in the pipeline. What Brian said in his book, Building the Empire, he says, I will be known as the king of follow-up. I never miss a follow-up. So when someone says no, what they mean is no, not right now. And, you know, he says, look, I'd like to follow. Would it be okay if I called you in the near future just to see how you're doing? And what I would do after asking people that question, I'd say, what's better for you? 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. The majority of people say 60 days. Some say 30. Rarely do I get 90. And I put them in my calendar. And guess what? I call them. I put them in my calendar and I call them. And then events is what he's going to do. I'm going to get to the quadrant here with 25, 25, 25, 25. But he talks about how he allocates his time. But one of his best building strategies, he calls it dangling the carrot. And Brian was famous for getting paper applications. All right, let me get your data. What's your name? What's your street address? What's your social security number? What website name do you want? What, you know, password do you want? You know, what initial inventory do you want? Remember, if you want to build your biggest business big and fast, Gold Pack is the way to go. And he'd get a paper application. And as soon as he got that paper application, he would call everybody that expressed interest in the past. And he'd say, you know, hey, John, it's Brian. Listen, I just signed up an influencer. I've got his paper application right here. But if you get in right now, I'll put him on your dual team and you can make all the money off of him in the future. Now, I want you to think about that for a moment. What if a Diane Solano fell in your dual team? What if an Emily Morrow fell in your dual team? What if a Pete Cohen fell in your dual team? Think about that for a moment. You'd almost never catch that. That would be quite an amazing thing to do. And so timing is important. So you can use that. And he said, by the way, he signed up 13 people in one day. He had that many people on his hot list. And he said, okay, you know, if you get in now, I'll put them on your team. 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 And he did that. He used influencers to build a business fast. And that's brilliant. So Mike Sims used to promote at Eric Worre's events, multimillionaire in network marketing. And, you know, one of his companies that he was with went out of business. So he started with a new company and he went and talked to an old friend of his in Atlanta, Georgia. And the guy said, Mike, the last time didn't work out. I'm done with it. You know, I'm just not going to do network marketing anymore. He says, okay, cool. Do you know anybody that might benefit? Anybody that, you know, is looking for money that might appreciate me as a mentor? And the guy said, well, yeah, you know what? My neighbor Chris might be interested in. And this is a true story. The guy that turned down Mike Sims introduced him to Chris Estes, that became one of the top earners in all of network marketing. And by his third year, earned $2 million that year. So here's what Mike did. He says, look, Chris is interested. do you want me to sign him up and make all the money off of everything that he does? Or do you want to sign him up? And the neighbor said, yeah, you go ahead and sign him up. So think about that. What if you had a $2 million earner referred to you? You know, and it can happen. This is the business that it can happen. Chris was a high school coach and, you know, just not making money, working his tail off, not making money, found network marketing. His book, The Apple Principle, awesome book. Another one of my absolute favorite network marketing books. So here's how Brian says to spend your time: 25% of your working day. He says, by the way, most people in network marketing that claim they're full-time, there's no way they're full-time. If you had a full-time job, you'd be working at least 40 hours a week, maybe 50 hours a week if you wanted to get ahead. He says, very few people put that time into network marketing. Now, when he was building, he worked 40 to 50 hours a week. Now that he's got this fantastic family and 35 million net worth, no, he doesn't, right? He's got that really good life. But he said, of those, let's give it 40 hours because it's easy math. 10 hours a week was spent prospecting. 10 hours a week was spent following up. 10 hours a week was helping people, essentially bring people into the business, three-way calls, promotions, videos, whatever. And 10 hours a week were training and especially promoting events. And here's what he said: events are where leaders are made. Events are where teams are made. Events are where money is made. So we want to promote Expo. We want to promote Eric Worre. And I'll tell you exactly what, Kelly and I are part-time and we have multiple other businesses. And the way that we've done so well is by doing income producing activities. We prospect every day. We follow up every day. We promote every day. And we promote an event every day. And especially when it comes to be crunch time. And so, by the way, the question that I like is, you know, I've always heard that your network is your net worth. You know, and I found that to be true. My question to you is, are you open to this working for you? Are you open to building a network and your net worth? And I do think that's the best question that I know right now. So I'm going to stop that share. We'll go to gallery view and let's see if anybody has any questions about anything. Okay.
Hey, thank you for that. I got a chance to watch the video and it was really cool. I do have a question that's a health question. Is it okay to ask?
Of course.
My son he has a jet ski and he messed up his wrist on it. Thinks maybe he has a torn tendon. What would you say is a good thing for healing that?
Well, I certainly love the spores. You know, there's a lot of collagen, decent collagen supplements that can also help to build connective tissue. So spores and collagen, good diet, rest, you know, tendons take time.
Yes, somebody talked to him about having surgery. How, you know, like if it is torn, is that pretty typical to have surgery or not really?
If it's a bad enough tear, surgery can be indicated. So what's interesting is you might see that my pinky looks a little weird. When I was testing for my black belt last month, I ruptured the tendon. And, you know, I went to the orthopedist and he said, okay, this is early. If you splint it and immobilize it, it'll reconnect itself. And so for 6 weeks, you might remember I had a little pinky splint on. But then interesting enough, as soon as I started moving, I do have some permanent bend in it, but okay, it's not going to be perfect, but depends on the nature of the tear. And that's where good qualified professionals come in. So I have an orthopedist that I trust. I went to see him. He said, Bob, immobilize it. You know, it'll reattach over the course of 8 weeks, and then it'll take a month to rehab. And he was right. So I would go to a qualified professional. And, you know, if you need surgery, sooner is better than later because those things can contract. I ruptured my Achilles years ago and I waited 6 weeks for surgery and I regret that. It's 12 years later and I still haven't fully recovered with full strength and motion. So should have had it done immediately. So have them check out.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Okay, so Brian's second half was all about money and investing, but here's what I'm going to tell you. Make the money, pay your taxes, pay yourself first, and then get a good, solid investment counselor. That's, or, you know, something that pays well. So Tony Robbins wrote a 700-page book on money. And when he interviewed Warren Buffett, and by the way, I don't even think Warren Buffett talked to him. I think he had to get to Warren secondhand. But, you know, Warren Buffett said, I'll tell you my investing strategy in one sentence or two sentences. Invest in the Standard & Poor's 500 and hold it for the long term. So that was Warren Buffett's strategy, and that's done a 10% return over all the years. So I think most of us here are more focused on making the money. You got to pay your taxes, otherwise the IRS is going to come knocking on your door, and that's not fun. Not that I know, I don't ever want them knocking on my door. We pay our taxes. We have good accountants, and you know we take deductions that are legal to do, but that's it. We pay our taxes, and we gladly pay taxes. So that's that. So, well, if there are no other questions, then I'll recommend the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, which is, you know, an investment classic. It's an easy read. You can read it in less than 2 hours. You can buy it less than $10. And, you know, one of my phenomenal mentors, you know, 30 years ago said, Bob, you got to read this book. And what the book says is pay yourself first. So there's money that you put aside from every month, about 10%, that you put into your investment account. And you always do that first. And one way or the other, the investment account always grows. And the idea is do not let your debt grow. And that wraps that up. So Brian Carruthers, I strongly recommend all 4 of his books. He is an absolute sage of wisdom.
Dr. Bob.
Happy, beautiful day.
Hello, did you hang up?
I think Devin froze.
Oh.
He might have to shut off his video because maybe the bandwidth isn't there. Paul Caldwell did do that on the Australia Zoom last night. He couldn't show his face and talk at the same time. The video signal wouldn't help it. So go for it, Devin.
Okay. Is it better?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure what happened. Oh, you can hear me now.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Firstly, I just want to say thank you for the call. In terms of the wealth aspect of what Brian Carruthers was talking about, yeah, I did find it interesting how he was saying how making wealth or building wealth is a decision. And I mean, anytime there's any growth in organo, I always consider like everything's intentional. So I wanted to ask you if Mr. Paul Caldwell ever spoke to you about like the power of OG pay and the fact that like the fact that there's a 3% interest on holding your money in the mobile wallet, or just the assets in general that's on the portfolio account, and how we can not only use like a percentage of what we earn in organo to put towards that and build wealth within the ecosystem.
Well, Paul Caldwell is an absolute master of money. And, you know, when you look at what banks are paying, leaving your money in your OG pay is going to pay you more than any bank right now. And what Paul Caldwell does so well is he's going to take money that he's paying you at 3%, and he's probably investing it at 10, 12, 15, 20%. So he's an absolute genius at that. And he knows how to get everything working together. And so ultimately, we want to get on Paul's inner circle and be able to sit down and get investment advice from him, you know, and you know, maybe sometime we can get him to advise that, because, you know, he clearly knows what he's doing in the arena of money.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All right, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Hey, Dr. Bob, I had a quick question for you too. I was on the Facebook group. My question is, when do you recommend to switch over to a LLC and get a VIN number and all that? Because when you sign up, I know you probably automatically join as your business, but for people who didn't have prior business, when is a good time to switch over so that way you have like a business and you separate the business from your personal credit?
Well, that's where I'm going to say I don't have that expertise, but we have a really fantastic accountant that we ask those questions of. And so I think regardless of your business entity, even if it's just you, a sole proprietor, I still think you're entitled to tax write-offs. So do you remember Courtney Epps from, so what Courtney, her book is called More Relaxing, Less Taxing or something of that effect. And I am amazed at all the write-offs that she creates. And so, you know, we have a tax accountant and they figured out our home office is 8% of our home. So 8% of our electric, 8% of our water, 8% of our gas, you know, 8% of the taxes that we pay, 8% of any type of home repairs is a business write-off. That's automatic. And so, you know, as long as you have a home office and you can prove that you use it for business, I think you're entitled to those breaks. So to understand that question, I would recommend Courtney Epps's book. And then two, you know, she does give a free consult. Her first one is free, and she's made a fortune with a team doing taxes for network marketing people. Call her up and you could ask her that question. That could be part of the free consult. And what I'll tell you is she'll probably tell you, you know what, I can save you more money than you'll cost me. So go with me right away. And she's probably right, you know, but ultimately, you know, make that call, feel her out, see if you like what she has to say. Read the book first. You'll have a lot stronger conversation by doing that. Okay, so let's see. Did Eric say is next week? Yeah, next week is a holiday. So there will be no accelerator next week. I think that's Labor Day in the US. The week after that, there will be 2 days of accelerator training. I think the topic is duplication, radical duplication. I'll have to look at my calendar to see the topic. So it looks like we're going to have 2 weeks without an accelerator Zoom. But Tuesday, Ask the Doctor will be there. I'm lecturing for a virtual cancer conference tomorrow. So I updated all my cancer statistics, which I think that's always a fascinating topic because people's number one fear before the age of 55 is cancer. After the age of 55, they fear losing their brain. And so 2 hot topics. So tomorrow, I'm going to do an update on nutrition and cancer, which, by the way, probably the perfect food to be anti-cancer in the entire world is Ganoderma. So it'll be a good one to be on. And I hope to see you there. But in the meantime, I appreciate all of you stepping up every single week. We have a big world that needs our help. So let's get better, stronger, faster, smarter, and help more people. So good night, all, and God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Bob.
You are
Thanks,
very
Dr. Bob.
welcome.
Thank you so much.